Hello, my name is Mike Ward. I'm the Global Director of Content in Pharma Intelligence, the publishers of Scrip, Pink Sheet, In Vivo and Generics Bulletin. We're here in Amsterdam at the BioEurope Spring Meeting. This is an opportunity where various stakeholders in the industry have the opportunity to get together to sort of discuss progress, discuss the sort of challenges they face, and also maybe start some discussions and negotiations. Amsterdam, of course, is a brilliant place to have a conference like this, particularly this time as Amsterdam has just recently been given the nod that it's going to be the new location for the European Medicines Agency. This is after the Brexit discussion. Yesterday we had a discussion around Brexit and what the implications are for pharma, and one of those issues is also the relationship about the UK with Europe around sort of medicines regulations. I'm joined by Thomas Lönngren, who is a former executive director of the European Medicines Agency and is currently a strategic advisor to the NDA group, as well as obviously lots of other hats that
yes,
you wear.
That's correct.
So Thomas, I mean, first, can I ask you sort of what do you sort of think the implications are for pharma with Brexit?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's for all the people who have been involved to build up the European regulatory system, built up the EMA, with all the staff, all the experts from the member states. It's a little sad moment that that well-established agency and well-established system have to be partly break up now, and relocate. So I think that we are many of the people in the regulatory system who are not really happy about this, because it have consequences, of course, for the performance of the European regulatory system. And certainly, since this is also an example of where Europe is on its best, who even the hardest Brexiter can't complain about, the benefit of the European regulatory system. What was the alternative? 28 different kind of marketing authorizations. And now that have been replaced by one system that have been in operation for over 20 years and have been working very well. For the benefit for the patients and the benefit for the industry.
Right. So what are your concerns that with the UK leaving, what kind of vacuum is that, do you think?
Yeah, they are. First of all, it is the people who are employed by the agency, and there are about 20–30% of British people who is employed. And when their contract is expiring, they probably have to leave the agency. So we are losing that competence. But what is, I think, more serious is that the UK expertise that populate the scientific committees like the CHMP and the other committees and the working parties, they have to leave. And since UK is one of the leading rapporteurs together with Sweden, there will be a loss in the system of that kind of capacity and also the competence that the British expertise have. And that is a loss that have to be compensated, and that will take some time.
So, I mean, it was, sort of interesting in, so for example, the Prime Minister, Theresa May, recently at the Mansion House, was sort of suggesting that the UK could still be a part of that European regulatory system, and it would agree to the sort of the rules, etc. So, I mean, do you think that that's a sort of potential solution?
I think we were many at the professional level who welcomed that proposal from the Prime Minister. Unfortunately, the European Union returned the next day and said that cherry picking is not possible. So I don't want to be involved in the high political negotiations, but I hope that it's a negotiation position that maybe in the end, when we see the final result of the whole Brexit issue, that the UK could continue in some way to be involved in the European regulatory system, because I think UK need the Europe, and we need the expertise that we have in UK. And we are professional, medical professionals, pharmaceutical professionals, regulatory professionals. we are working together. We want to look at it from a public health point of view, and we don't want to see any political borders in the work that we are doing.
Sure. So, and I mean, in yesterday's debate, you made a contribution where you were sort of suggesting that looking at the way that the FDA and the EMA interact with each other could be a potential model for how the MHRA might operate alongside the EMA in future. I mean, could you sort of outline a little bit further what you were thinking?
Yeah, that is probably a scenario if we are talking about a hard Brexit, a total separation, and where the UK can't be part of the European regulatory system or EMA. So, and that is the model that we have had for many years. Over my 10 years at the EMA, I started a collaboration with the FDA. That was, and today is very successful.
What does that look like, that collaboration?
First of all, we started with a confidentiality agreement between the two agencies. I signed that together with Mark McClellan in 2002, who then was the commissioner for the FDA. And the final agreement was for forever was signed by me and Peggy Hamburg in 2009. Right. So what we started was to, first of all, exchange information about ongoing applications. Then we built up that in what we call the clusters. So, for example, the oncology cluster was one of the first clusters where we had monthly teleconf between the Richard Pateur team at the FDA with the SAG and the people at the EMA to discuss ongoing applications and ongoing issues. We have all the oncology, and that have continued now for since 2002 very successfully, and every month they talk with each other. Experts are flying over to US to participate in their internal meeting, and experts on the other side, so to say. So that was one example. The other example, and this is a little nice story, that was 2005-06, and at that time the commissioner of FDA was Andy von Eichenbach. Right. He was the former head of Natural Cancer Institute. So he sent over Mac Lumpkin, who was the assistant international commissioner at that, and Mac came up to me and said, FDA have decided to open up office in the rest of the world, and we want to open up an office in London. And I said to Mac, no, you don't open up an office in London. Why? He said, yeah, you have an office. Where? At EMA. And that was the start of the secondment of experts from FDA and EMA. So it took a year, and we have an FDA officer sitting in the office of EMA. And I had the possibility to send an officer to the FDA. Okay. And that facilitated the collaboration between the two agencies. So today I must say that collaboration between the two agencies is a good example. And I can't see, even if there will be a hard Brexit, that this kind of model of collaboration without any political interference could also continue between EMA and MHRA, for example.
So of course, so even in, as you say, in the sort of the case of a hard Brexit, there are some signs of optimism, because there is this potential for
well, this is that what we, the regulators, have done for many years. We have been working together as colleagues over the border, all over the continents, all over the globe, in a very close collaboration. And there is a close collaboration between all the regulatory agencies in the world. There is a couple of instruments for that, like the WHO, for example. They have the ICTRA, International Conference for Drug Regulatory Agencies, with all regulatory agencies come together on a regular basis to discuss issue. We created a group with the leading heads of regulatory agencies to come together once a year in order to discuss, without any political interference, just informal club. And that have been tremendous progress in this kind of informal collaboration. For example, the whole issue of mutual recognition of GMP now that have been between US was based on all these informal discussions. The discussion about joint inspection of GCP, for example, is another area where these informal discussions between the international regulatory network have been developed very well, without any political interference, just professional collaboration and trust.
So it sounds like almost the message is politicians butt out and leave the regulations to the regulators.
I don't want to say it like hard at that, but I will say that there is room for professional collaboration between regulators in the world, and if there will be a hard Brexit, I really hope also that MHRA and UK could be part of that and work as closely as we do with the PMDA, with Health Canada, with TGA in Australia, Singapore, and FDA. So there is a possibility. It's not the same as when they are in the system, we have access to their expertise, but it is a form of collaboration and not closing the door.
Thanks very much for stopping by.
Okay.